again.
Again, yes.
Yes, and I stepped outside to get something out of the car, and it's actually gotten chilly. It was not bad this afternoon, but now it's gotten cold.
Has it?
Yeah, I'm a little worried because tomorrow I'm supposed to shoot a video towards the end of the day. It's supposed to take place towards sunset, and I'm worried it's going to be cold and windy for my actors and shooting.
It's true, but it was either now-ish or last summer when it was like 107.
Yeah, although last Sunday would have been perfect.
Yeah,
it was
last Sunday would have been.
Day.
But actors,
they couldn't do it because there was the Keene Christmas parade and fireworks, which...
the fireworks were awesome.
Yeah, the fireworks were fun. That was... you wouldn't think, a tiny little town... Although I'll say one of the best fireworks show I ever saw was Collegedale. They did a 4th of July, and I was taking summer school, and so I went over there, just to see them, thinking, Collegedale fireworks, got to be, lame. But it was one of the best ones I'd ever seen. And Keene is even smaller than, way smaller than Collegedale. And they do a pretty good job. And then this last one, I think now qualifies as one of the best ones. I'm talking about, I've seen LA, Disney, and
we saw Vegas. Vegas was pretty awesome because the last year we were there, we found a park that overlooked the entire valley.
Yeah.
So it was all of downtown Vegas, just like all of Vegas in the valley.
Yeah.
And so on the 4th of July night, that was a lot of fireworks. It was pretty cool to watch that.
Yeah. But here last year, they do them, Keene does them on Christmas, and then Cleburne does it the 4th of July. And they go back and forth. And so, anyway, last year it was just socked in, cloudy and foggy. Yes. And we went out to look at them, and you couldn't even see them really going up. You could see faint light
colors in the clouds.
In a cloud, in the clouds, just faint colors. It's like nothing. You're like, man, they just need to stop this. And,
it was definitely like throwing your money away.
Yeah, and they kept going. But I'm guessing at some point they did stop because this year, you can always tell when there's the finale, right? It's like, right, and then, the finale, right? And they did their finale, and it was great. And you walk, and I'm like, man, that was great. And then you walk into your car, and all of a sudden, finale number 2.
Yeah.
And that's what they did, is like caught everybody off guard. And I'm guessing they were left over from last year because they realized no one can see this. We should stop.
Yeah, they had 2 really great finales. It was
and it
pretty
really
awesome.
punched in. It was kind of cool. But that was fun in the little small town of Keene. It's like Mayberry's probably smaller than Mayberry, and
there's no gas station even in this town.
No.
Yeah.
And the parade is just exactly what you think it is.
Oh yeah, but they have an awesome parade for such a tiny town.
They get in their truck and put lights on it and get in the back and throw. And it's kind of hokey, but they just go all out hokey.
Yeah. Then they have animals. Well, this Christmas parade they had llamas, I guess.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of stuff, and it is mostly well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it really is like something out of the 50s. Some of the stuff the floats they drive by, and there's like something you'd see in some, movie that was supposed to be filmed in the 50s, and little kids in these tiny little tin cars, being towed behind a truck, and it's just cute. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Keene celebrations, but other things. And so today was fun. We had quite the rambunctious Sabbath school discussion-wise. Kind of bounced around places. And
definitely bounced around.
Yeah, if you followed the Sabbath school lesson today, I think was on reaching the unreached.
Yeah, the unreached.
Yeah, it was evangelism to the unreached, and that got a lot of ideas and thoughts flowing, and Miranda was voicing her opinions and trying to say, well, I think, and then she was slammed down.
No.
You weren't slammed down.
Not how it worked.
No.
Oh, that I was slammed down?
Yeah, you were. A little. But you bounced back.
Yes, of course.
Yes, you bounced back. And in the end, the people who were turned around and ended up saying the same thing she was saying.
Yes.
So it was we were, the leader, was pulling out, who are the unreached and how do you evangelize them, and they're thinking, the perspective is like, non-Christians, or, I don't know how to, not just non-Christians, but, denominations that are, like Mormonism, Catholicism, and they are these unchurched or unreached groups because they don't know the truth, whatever. And Miranda and I were both kind of the opinion of it's not really worth trying to determine who's reached and unreached. You do what's in front of you where God's put you. You just you follow what God's leading you to do, and that's who you're reaching out to in any given day. Yeah.
Basically, wasn't it like they thought you needed to pick a mission?
A group, mission.
Pick a group of people that you were going to reach.
Yeah.
But I said basically, it's if we're having our relationship with Jesus, because when God calls us, well, he asked, who here is living out their calling? And everybody's like, well, that's kind of, I don't know. Nobody wants to say they are because maybe they aren't doing it good enough or whatever. So, or they don't have a specific calling or something, they feel like. So anyways, I said basically, if you're, when Jesus calls us, all he calls us to, taking it down to your simplest form, is that we are to love God and love our fellow man. We are to leave behind not loving God and not loving our fellow man, and now start to love God and love our fellow man. If we do that in all situations, we reach all the unreached that God puts into our path at that moment. And at some point in time, he might say, oh, hey, he might really impress us with prison ministry or inner center ministry or whatever it might be, and yet we don't even know sometimes how we may have ministered to somebody.
Yeah, and I was thinking like, the unreached, I was like, you don't even know who they are. You can be, born and raised and going to church all your life and still be unreached. And like, it's kind of dangerous for us to start, well, you're reached and you're not reached. And just like Miranda said, do it in front of you and follow that, and God will lead you to where he wants you to go. Not that there's anything wrong with picking prison ministries and foreign evangelism and missionary stuff. It's just if God leads you to that, if God's calling you to that. So anyway, it was kind of interesting Sabbath school. We kicked it around a bit, and I think we took the leader in places he didn't intend to go, but he handled it well. So.
Yes, he did handle it well.
Yeah. So, and we're talking today about somebody who was given a mission and handled it okay.
Yes, I titled it Moses and the Staff.
Yeah.
But, yes. Was that your...
That was the segue.
That was the segue? Wow, that was really smooth, Brett.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I picked up on that. Yeah. Okay. So, you know what? This last week I had a hard time coming up with a new idea, basically. And so, but as I was going through, I'm currently reading through all of my old SALT blog posts, and that's almost 3 years of them? Is it 3 or almost 4?
We're 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's going to be 4 years in April. And so there's a solid 3.5 years worth of posts at 52 a year. It's taken me a little while to get through all of them. And I found this one, Moses and the Staff, and I was like, oh yeah, I really liked that one. I'll bet I could rework that one for this weekend. And I still kept trying to think of something new and different, and it wasn't really happening. And so this morning I thought again, well, that's the only thought I've had, so we're just going to have to make it go. So yeah, here we are. reworking and...
Keep going. You don't need me for just a little bit. I'll be right back.
Okay. Reworking an old thought, basically. So I really liked the quote that it started with by Martin Buber. All journeys have secret destinations of which the traveler is unaware. And I remember the first time I read that and really just, I had to stop and think about what that might possibly mean in life, right? I actually did look up what did this writer mean when he wrote that. And, Brett is going to be the giant spider killer, I do believe. And he's doing a great job of it, actually. Oh, thumbs up. He did it. Yes. Well, thank you so much, Fluff, for not helping Daddy do that. But Fluff is usually pretty good at that. But, okay. So I did read what he had actually intended, but I decided to put my own little spin on there. I believe that the text that encompasses this thought is James 1, verses 2 and 3. Count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. And so faith is obviously a journey, right? And when we go through various trials in life, we can't really see at that moment sometimes what good going through that might be doing for us until we come out on the other side. And even then, while we may see some of it, we may not understand it fully until even later in life. And so God has these secret destinations, if you will, along the journey where all of a sudden we have that aha moment where we see and experience a clearer picture of who God is. And that's what God wants for us, as he takes us through the journey of his heart, basically, his heart for us, and stopping at these various places and showing us who he is and how much that he loves us. So this time we're going to talk about Moses and part of his journey. And, let's just start it there with Moses there in the desert and the burning bush. So just to summarize real quickly, because my word, they had a long conversation, like a long conversation. So we're not going to go through the whole conversation. Basically, Moses sees the burning bush and God calls to him and he says, hey, come on over here. I have something I want to tell you, right? And so God speaks to him and he says, I want you to go to Pharaoh and bring my people out of Egypt. So this is like one of those spy movies you might watch. It's been a long time since I watched a spy movie. Now, I watched a handful, I think, of James Bond, like way, way, way back. I'd say the most recent spy movie I probably watched was Spy Kids 2, I don't know. Back when Aspen was that age, and it was new or something like that. So that's me, my up-to-date, my foray into spy movies, right? Okay, but Brett has a little more experience with that sort of stuff. So anyways, this is like one of those spy movies you might watch, right? Someone looks to be living a normal, average life, but then they're called into a secret meeting. Ooh, secret meetings. We know about secret meetings, but not that type of secret meeting. Okay.
What secret meetings do you know about?
They happen, like...
I want to know about these secret meetings.
Okay, nobody needs to know. But Moses, he shakes his head at this one, and he says, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and lead your people out of Egypt, right? Who am I to do that? And once again, like the classic spy movie, he's remembering all his old enemies, right? He had killed an Egyptian and had to flee the country many years before, right? And so it's also like the classic retired spy who the company has done their research and they're like, yeah, we want him because he's good. And so we want him to come do this seemingly impossible job for us, right? And so they have this long conversation again, and God explains all this stuff about what he wants Moses to do and say. And what God wants him to do and say is about equivalent, okay, to being sent to, say, Alcatraz, and you're supposed to get all the prisoners out. And what the plan is there's nothing secret about that. He's supposed to walk up to the prison warden and he's supposed to say, you know what, I'm here to take all these prisoners with me. And that is just, it's a great plot line, right?
Some people out there may be thinking, like, is she talking about The Rock? That's a movie.
Oh.
The Rock.
Notice he has to explain this to me. That's a movie.
Yeah, and it's
because we bought rocks yesterday.
Yeah, we bought 12 rocks yesterday, but it's a different rock. It's the Alcatraz was known as the Rock because it was built on a rock in the middle of the San Francisco Bay. But it was about bringing an old spy who was in jail, by the way, but bringing him out of retirement to go break into Alcatraz because in theory he was the only one that ever broke out of Alcatraz. So I wanted to break into Alcatraz and rescue a bunch of people. So it's fairly close to what you're talking about, except they snuck in. They didn't just walk up to them.
It is a bold move to go straight to the guy that's holding you prisoner and say, hey, I'm here. Now let all these people come and go. Right. And so Moses is not exactly convinced just yet. He says, what if they don't believe me? What if they don't listen to me? And what if they say, oh, come on, really? God told you to take these people out, right, of their enslavement. And Moses is standing there talking to God, who's speaking to him from the burning bush, right? I'm sure he's aware enough that he knows what this is going to sound like to other people.
Yeah.
It's like, Moses, what were you drinking out there?
Yeah.
In the middle of the desert while you were kind of bored,
Yeah. And you gotta. Well, I guess that's why God was going to give him signs and stuff because, probably, with all good common sense, just to walk into Pharaoh and said, well, God told me this and you need to do it, would be a little, you wouldn't expect Pharaoh to just like, oh, okay. So later, you have the plagues, but you have other signs and stuff where he God was like, no, it really is me. I really did tell him to do this. It's my command. And yet, obviously we know the story. Pharaoh didn't. And plagues. Why, Anubis? Why?
Plagues. Again with the plagues. Why did I ever move to Egypt?
That was our favorite quote from one of the movies, Mr. Peabody and Sherman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm the poor soul who gets explained.
Mommy is not as into all the movies as Aspen and I have been.
It takes up time to watch them.
It takes up time. It does. Yes.
Okay, so God says, what is that in your hand? And so now this is the part of the movie where the guy who's doing the recruiting, he brings out his super secret agent tools, right?
And I'd like to, in my imagination, I wanted to hear what God's voice sounded like at that. Because imagine, you can hear it in a conversation. If you're having a conversation with somebody like that, I'd be like, to Aspen, I'd be like, so what's that in your hand? And I can't believe it was just that casual, God from the burning bush going, hey, Moses, what's that in your hand? And Moses, what is in your hand, Moses? But that's how it sounds like. It's, hey, what's that in your hand? Throw it down.
Well, he's communicating with humans. So,
yeah.
Yeah. So what are some of the super secret agent special tools that they give to people?
Well, from somebody whose depth of knowledge in spy movies is Spy Kids, she came up with a cell phone that turns into an airplane.
Yeah, hey, somebody had to use their imagination. I want one of those.
But that's actually Transformers, cars that turn into bigger machines.
I know that,
it could
but
work.
I like mine better.
It could work. Yeah, actually,
I like mine better.
In the Transformer world, that would work. Transformer. But, well, you go all the way back to Get Smart where the, telephone in the shoe, kind of trope. And then, a lot of it's just the, micro cameras and, now they have the coolest things I've seen, in movies anyway, that actually do exist, is they have cameras, spy cameras, disguised as insects, and so they're RC, they're remote controlled, and so they can fly these things, and to the people it just looks like a beetle or a small mosquito or something, flying around, so they don't pay any attention to it, but it's actually a remote controlled camera.
Oh, wow. That is pretty cool. Yeah, not as good as my
not as good as the
cell phone that can turn
plane.
into a plane.
Yeah,
but,
that's better. But
yes, it is better.
It is what we have.
Okay. But God doesn't open up his drawers and pull out his super secret agent tools. No. He takes what Moses already has, and that is a shepherd's staff. Just a simple stick of wood, basically. And that is how God works in our lives, too. We don't have to wait for him to give us super secret agent tools, right? In order to do some grand thing for God sometime in the future. Not at all. He has already given us what we need to work for him. Because in the end, it's not about the staff, it's about the power of God. Staff is nothing without the power of God.
Yeah, I like that point where, God used what, Moses already had. God used him where he was at and what he had. And like I say, it's not the superpower that, God gives you on, fancy object or something. It's using you the way you are, where you're at, what's his power put into that.
Yes, it is definitely God's power and not ours anyways. Because if it was Moses' power, he would have been doing something with that staff a long time ago.
God said, beat you with a stick. But no.
Okay, so then God gives Moses a lesson on how to use it, right? Now, Moses had been carrying that staff around in the desert for a solid 40 years. He thought he knew how to use it, right?
I know it was the same staff. That'd be like a great Christmas present. Every year, instead of getting him a tie, it's and here's a new staff. Thank you for this stick.
Yes, well,
That's what Aspen's getting for Christmas this year, a stick.
Okay, but this staff is entirely different because it is powered by God. And so God says, throw it on the ground. So he throws it on the ground. And that's easy enough, right? I wonder what he expected.
I wonder how God said that. What's that in your hand? Throw it on the ground. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
He had no idea what was going to happen. That's the cool part.
Yeah. And so there it is. Now all of a sudden, it's a snake. And the Bible says, this is the interesting part that I just really noticed this time around when I read it, was that Moses ran from it. Moses ran from the snake. I'm going to guess he ran from the snake because it was poisonous.
It's not any snake. It's an asp.
Oh, it is an asp?
An asp.
Yeah.
It's a poisonous snake.
Okay, so it's a poisonous snake. He's been in the desert for 40 years. He knows his poisonous snakes, right? This isn't the sweet little innocent snake that he walks up to, picks up, wraps around his arm, and speaks to during lunch or something like that, just for some entertainment. No, this is a poisonous snake, and he knows enough to run out of there. And what is God doing? Providing, either throw down your staff and it becomes a poisonous snake. It doesn't make any sense.
Did you just say, pick up a snake, wrap around your arm, and have a conversation over lunch?
You could.
I'm just trying to think of Moses out there. They're like, I'm going to talk to a snake.
He probably talked to the sheep.
Probably did talk to the sheep. That's true. Talk to the sheep. But I used to know what kind of snake that was. Probably was.
Oh, okay.
It was a sermon I did on Moses. What was it? And it was like, this is the most common out there, and it's like one of those, it bites you and you've got 60 seconds to say a prayer to God because you're going to die. It's like super venomous, and that's probably what it turned into.
Yeah, that makes no sense for God to do that.
Yeah.
This is where, in the movie, where the potential spy tries out that phone that turns into a plane, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. This is where that potential spy agent says, no thank you, and he walks out the door.
And Moses ran.
Yeah, he ran. He ran for sure. So basically, but at this point in time, you got to wonder, that Moses was probably wondering about God's plan. Seriously. If I hadn't questioned it before the snake thing, I would have definitely started questioning it during the snake thing. It made no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
What was he supposed to do? Take a bunch of staffs with him and throw them down and... Oh, that's a good way to get rid of your enemies.
Yeah.
But
he also could have felt tricked, like God doing this and lured him in, and then he turned him into turned it into a snake to kill him. It was like, he could have felt like God was.
Yeah, definitely. So this is where, if it were a spy movie, the retired spy, they wanted back, would have walked out, right? Okay, so, you know, God said, pick the thing up by the tail. Pick it up by the tail. He had run away from the snake. Now he had to walk back to it, and he had to face his fears. I mean, for 40 years, he's been living a fairly ordinary life, using his staff in ordinary ways, herding the sheep, and now God wants that to change. I'll tell you, God, no doubt, got his attention with that one. He wants Moses to go from ordinary living to living by faith in him. But sometimes that change requires looking fear in the face and grab it by the tail. And the only reason to do it is because God said to do it, and no other reason to do it.
Probably a naturalist out there can correct me, but it just seems as though if you're going to pick up a snake, the tail would not be the place to do it. Because if you grab the tail, he's still got his whole body to whip around and bite you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Seems like you put the head down first and then you grab it behind the head. I think that's what I've seen in, like, you know, nature movies and stuff.
I don't know anything about that, and I don't want to know anything about it. I don't want to have to know anything about that.
But I wonder if, you know, something like Moses, and God said, pick it up. And Moses goes to, you know, like he's supposed to, no, by the tail. And be like, what?
Yeah.
You know, that would have been even more of a, you know, step of faith.
Yeah, and I would guess also that a shepherd would ordinarily have used his staff to ward off or to kill the snake with.
Yeah.
And yet now he's entirely helpless on his own because his staff is there as the snake.
Yeah.
And he can't even do anything about it. But God says, pick it up by the tail. Oh, really? Oh, really? Yes.
Yeah, actually,
really.
Again, in like nature TV show, I've seen the thing they use to pick up snakes or get rid of snakes is like a shepherd's crook. It's a long rod with a crook at the end, and they hook it and throw it or hook it.
Yeah. So basically, we were to do these things like, you know, like he's telling Moses to do by faith, right? Because he tells us to. Noah building the boat, Abraham offering his son as a sacrifice, all those people, other people of faith mentioned in Hebrews 11, right? Okay, this wasn't God trying to teach Moses how to pick up every snake he saw, right? Whenever he sees them. This is about God teaching Moses not to rely on self, but to rely only on the Word of God. So living out God's words takes us to secret destinations, places we did not know existed and wouldn't except by faith. We lived out the words of God. And so just like God wasn't teaching Noah how to go about building big boats and starting a boat business, and God wasn't teaching Abraham to go about sacrificing children, this was a secret destination to a deeper relationship lived out by faith with God. And faith sees God's promises as already existing. It sees into the future. It believes God is omnipotent and has been to the future, basically, and is preparing us to go there as well. And for Moses, that included picking up that dangerous snake by the tail after he had run away from it. And all common sense says, don't go near it. So it would be sort of like the spy movie that also had the added sci-fi feature where the guy giving the instructions could go into the future and then come back with instructions based on his knowledge.
Doctor Who. Yeah, I'm trying to think of movies and stuff, but yeah, Doctor Who. That would suffice for that definition.
Okay.
And David Tennant was the best doctor. Keep going.
Okay. Okay. And this was also God telling Moses that, yes, why I've told you that I'm sending you to Egypt to bring my people out, it's not really you doing it, it's me. And because remember, whenever God tells us to do something seemingly impossible, he is already planning on doing it for us. So
Moses was the messenger.
Right.
He could easily have gone in that first day and said, now, Pharaoh, don't kill the messenger, but God has sent me to give you a message.
Right, because remember the Bible does tell us that God is the author and the finisher of our faith. And that's where a lot of these secret destinations happen on the journey is because God is leading us to live our relationship with Him by faith. So it's sort of like being given a map to our lives. So imagine being given a map to your lives, right? Okay, most of us would take the fast track to the promised land, right? So after Moses, or God basically, Moses leads the people out of Egypt, now they're going to the promised land, right? And there was a shorter way to get there than going to the Red Sea.
Wow.
And yet
Your travel agent would not have gone, and here you'll go through the Red Sea. I guess that wouldn't have made sense. But
right. And so on his own or on our own, we would have taken this shorter, more direct route.
Yeah.
And yet they were following the cloud at that point in time, right? And it took them to, or
the wilderness.
no, yeah. Well, anyways, it took them
On the opposite direction, basically.
Wait, yeah, I forget. Was a cloud in that part of the? Was a cloud there at that point in time, or was Moses just following what God had told him to do?
At the parting of the Red Sea?
Yeah.
No, yeah. There was the pillar of fire.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because I went ahead of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways,
Yeah, at that point, it would have been the Israelites would have known, the promised land it's over there, Moses.
yeah,
They would have gone. The GPS isn't working because we're supposed to go that way, and they're
Yeah.
going that way. And
yeah. So,
it was interesting. I saw. I was written a paper, something. I was doing the research, and it was this real circuitous route, but unbeknownst to the Israelites, it was actually taking them places, avoiding places that would have been like, I hate to use the word countries or nations, but a nation of people were very hostile and probably would have wiped them out or attacked them and stuff. And so it wasn't just an act of faith to follow around instead of going the way you thought you're supposed to go. It was also preservation of the Israelites.
right. And while they did end up there with the Red Sea in front of them and the Egyptian army coming up behind them, this was a destination, a secret destination as well, because what faith has started to create, or was at least designed to create faith in them, right? Because not only did God part the waters with that staff for the Israelites, but He seriously got rid of their enemies, and all at the same time. And not something that they could have done under their own power. Moses couldn't have done that, but God did it for them.
And everything God was doing for the Israelites at that point was meant to build their faith, because again, they were just coming out of slavery and they had a lot to learn, and God was really trying to, you can depend on me. I'm going to take care of you. I'm not going to let you down. And doing these miraculous things like parting the Red Sea and getting, destroying Pharaoh's army, but also, water from rock and manna and stuff. And there's all these things God was doing to take care of them and build me a temple, and He would be there in His, like a physical presence. And part of that was, look, everything else I'm doing, I'm taking care of you. And when they, would argue with Moses and question, why are we just wandering around the wilderness? It's sort of like don't you think everything I'm doing for you is an effort to take care of you? Because all I'm doing is taking care of you. Trust the route I'm taking you on has a reason, has a purpose.
Yes.
That's like, and also the journey of our life, like you're talking about.
Right, and sometimes it may look very well, like it did to Moses, with throw your staff on the ground. I mean, now he has no protection. He cannot protect himself.
Right.
This is what God wants.
Yeah.
We are not to protect ourselves. It is God who is there to protect us.
Yeah, and what's the quote you were using at the top?
Oh, all journeys have secret destinations of which the traveler is unaware.
And that would have been perfectly true for, the Israelites and to the wilderness. And that's often used as a parallel to our lives as well. Like, there is a journey and a destination that, most time we're unaware of.
Yeah, and we cannot see, unless we live by faith, the doors are not opened into that future that living by faith does for us.
Yeah. So, which is, something good to remember when you're going through life thinking, what in the world is going on, and why am I here, and why is this? It's like looking back at all the ways God has, taken care of you and worked for you and been with you and done it, and you trust this is the journey. If I'm focusing on God, like we said in Sabbath school, the journey will make sense.
Yes, we're to focus on God, not people or things.
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
Oh, is that it?
Yes,
oh,
that's
okay.
it. We wrapped it up.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So, what's the date today?
The 9th.
The 9th. So we're still early in December. So, I think we should, at some point, we should talk about Christmas stuff. It is the season.
It is the season.
So who knows? Maybe we'll start getting into some holiday topics. But all right. Well, there you have it. Thanks for joining us, and hope you had a good Sabbath and have a great week next week. I'll be, Aspen and I both will be wrapping up the final week of school. She's got tests. How many days? You have 3 days of tests? Yeah. Over at the university, it's all week of tests and students trying to frantically get all their assignments done. Yeah. And get ready for the holidays. So.
That's right.
And that's what she has to say about that.
Well, I'm happy because it's 2 more days of lunches for Aspen, and then
she's on her own.
No more lunch fixing for
she's
a couple
on her
weeks.
feed herself. Fend for yourself, just like the cats. Go fend for yourself.
That's not how it works around here.
All right. Have a great week.